All right, guys, I just kind of got home last night, edited that video up this morning, the last video of FL2k. Super pumped about that video. I think it came out really good, but obviously the results didn't come out good. So that's the tough thing about this, is not only does the video have to be edited good, the results have to be good. Luna's chasing ducks over there. And now it's time to unload everything. The worst part of racing, getting home after not winning and then unloading all your junk. We got the gang out here, missing the whole gang while I was gone. A couple ducks over there, a Luna over there, and it's like about to rain, so it'd be great to unload it now. Or in the rain, I guess. Either way, seems like something's gonna happen. What's up, dog? What's up? Just got it. But I figured I'd take you guys along for a little bit of the unload process, and then I want to go over some things on the car. There's some things I want to change, and it seems like we won't really have an FL2k, not FL2k, a Bradenton test day for a little while, because obviously they are just reeling from the Gainesville deal, moving everything up there, so they have to make their trips back. Then they still have to finish preparing Bradenton for their next race, which is in a couple weeks here. They have a no time race, and one of the boards is down, so I don't know if they even bother putting it up or need to have it up before that. But I don't know what the whole deal is there, but I have a goal I want to run with the car. I want to run a 760, and the plan now, I guess, is to just do a couple of these small changes that I want to do on the car. What the heck was that? Why did everybody just run at me? But there's a couple changes I want to make on the car, specifically with catch can and venting situation. All right, men, this announcement is for you. This video is sponsored by Roman. Roman is a testosterone support supplement that is made by doctors and backed by science. 6 carefully sourced ingredients: ashwagandha to support testosterone and magnesium to support muscle growth, along with a few other vital nutrients that you guys probably don't have enough of. Not only that, there's free delivery and affordable monthly plan. It comes with this sleek refillable glass jar to reduce clutter and waste. So many of us need something like this in our daily routine. I've been using it a bunch lately. Testosterone is an important part of men's health, so don't overlook it. Go to Roman, get $15 off your first order with my code and my link down below. Go check it out, guys. Huge thank you to Roman for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to it. All right, car is back in the shop now. I gotta put it up and go through a couple things, like always. Nut and bolt it. There's so many little things. You guys know there is there's one problem that you can clearly see. It's a common issue on the 2J stuff. It's also common on, you know, Coyotes and stuff that makes a lot of oil pressure. So when I let off the gas at the top end of the track, the oil pressure goes from like 40 to like idle, which is like 100 plus, like up to 120. So like probably 90 once it's hot, but it does that. And then right when that happens, you see a puff of smoke out of the exhaust. There's 2 reasons that could be happening. So crankcase pressure builds up, and we have these 2 breathers up here. They are not gigantic breathers, and they do all right, but we're talking about crankcase pressure here. This is valve covers, so that's cylinder head pressure. Yes, it's all connected, but you got to remember crankcase is down there. That's cylinder head pressure, which works on most cars, but when you make 1,500 horsepower on a 3-liter engine and you're just bombing boost into there, you know, 60 plus pounds of boost, you're going to have crankcase pressure. So there's another way that the pressure builds, and that is the turbo drain. So the turbo drain goes right into the crankcase. So that's easiest exit for crankcase pressure, is the turbo drain. So when I let off the gas, you know, there's more crankcase pressure, and it all suddenly goes out, and it either can go up, so it's holding oil up there. There's also a boom in oil pressure, so it's basically just that center section of the turbo just gets instantly just like crushed with oil pressure from both directions, like pressure holding it up, oil pressure trying to push down, and boom. So one thing I want to do is put a pressure regulator on the oil feed. They sell little pressure regulators. It'll maintain 40 psi of oil pressure to the turbo at all times, which is what they recommend. Even at idle, we are way over that. Even at hot idle, way over that. So we are just giving way too much oil pressure to this turbo. That's one thing that we need to do, but that will not fix our crankcase pressure boom. So there's another thing that I am back and forth on doing, and well, there's a couple things. So these lines go into there, and then the lines get bigger when they're in the car. So I'll show you. It's also pouring rain right now. So I'll show you the lines. They go in, down, and back here, and then back to the back there to the catch can. So catch can's on the passenger side, over on the driver's side over there, and then these lines go down. So one problem is you have to blow out the lines because they go down and then back up. So obviously there's a low point in the lines, and oil gets stuck in there and sits, and then you're building pressure because you create like a liquid kind of like seal on the AN lines. So one thing I would like to do is come out and go up across, like maybe go like under the dash and up, and then down and back. And then if we do that, the oil will go up but then drain back down. That would be the goal. But then another thing that I also want to add, so right now there's 2 lines that go to the catch can. Nice and simple, 2 big lines. Another good thing that I should add and plan to add is a 3rd line. So the oil drain, there's normally a spot on these oil pans to put like a bigger fitting, but we don't have that on this oil pan. It's welded up. So another great option that I have is to take the oil drain, put a Y fitting on the engine, and then, or on the oil pan where it drains into, and then Y1 going into the catch can in the back, and then put the other one basically just into the drain. So there will be the ability to drain back down, and then there will be the ability to crankcase release. So hopefully if there's the Y, the pressure follows the easy exit. Obviously that's all kind of questionable because I don't fully know, and it may cause problems with drain back, but I don't think so. So a Y on there, 1, and then have 3 lines, and then send it to the back. So another thing that I'm thinking is like something like this. So I have like a couple of these like junk old, like this is just like some, you know, stupid eBay, I don't know, whatever it is, like it's a coolant overflow. But if I drill some holes in this, put AN fittings on here, and kind of put it up under the cowling where I have a bunch of space, like over here, you can see there's a bunch of space where the 2 bulkhead fittings go, and put this as like a underhood reservoir that's sealed. Then the way that it works is basically, so say it's like this, the 2 ins are up here, and then this is a drain back into the oil pan, and then the 2 outs are up here. So oil will be rushing into here on the pass, and then the second I lift, it'll stop with as much crankcase pressure, drain back, and these 2 back here will vent into the big catch can. So we'll still get our water vapor and stuff into our big 6-quart catch can back here, and we won't get as much oil into here because we're going to have crankcase pressure, we're going to put oil into the catch can, but that does not mean that it has to basically just stay there and then get drained out and thrown away. This is brand new oil we're talking about for the most part. So a lot of people will make basically an auxiliary catch reservoir up here, and all this would need is basically like fittings welded on, and then it would be able to go right there, like up there. Like we have, I don't know if you guys can see this, but we have literally like a huge amount of space. Oh, that's unfortunate. Let me find a flashlight. So like up here where the bulkheads go in, we have all that space, and that's where we can do that. So these also go to a bigger size. So they're 10 here, and then they go to 12, or these are 8. I think these are 10. Yeah. So then they go to 12, and then 12 all the way back. So if that makes any sense to you guys, that's what I'm working with here. So basically just have to get some fittings for this. That's what I'm thinking. I think that would help a lot. I can just snake a dash 10 or a dash 8 up through here, and then have one more spot for crankcase vent, and then have a reservoir that can hold oil and let it back in slowly. And that's kind of what I'm thinking here. So, all right, dashboard is out. It's super simple. It's like 3 little pop rivets, Zeus fasteners, and it comes right out, one piece. Takes about 1 second. Now to figure out if I can change this line routing. Okay, attempt 1 to fix just the oiling in the catch can issue. Was able to use those 2 lines and go up and over and behind me. So yes, this is not my favorite way to do it, but I think it should be fine. Talked to a couple other people and I don't think there's any issue with this. So coming into the cab is fairly normal. And now remember, this is AN line. This is like high pressure, high temperature AN line. So the way that it does come in now is it still comes in through the bulkhead, but instead of going down and back, you know, right here, it now goes up and over right here and all the way into the back. So completely out of the way, not even in my line of sight, and then right to the back. So keeps it simple and out of the way. I can even tuck it a little bit more with a couple more zip ties. That's the plan. Get it out of the way as possible. And then now the oil can come up to here, and then if it gets up to here, it can just drain back in after a pass once I lift, instead of getting stuck kind of like down here. Like right now it would just stay at the bottom and you'd have to blow out the lines and all this kind of stuff. But doing this is probably my best bet. Now I could have went over that way, but the problem is these lines are not long enough, and when you get behind the dashboard over here, the way that the fittings come through is they could not do it because the fittings need these 245s, and the way that the dash bar is, it just wouldn't fit. So this was my real only option, and it fits perfectly fine, and it should be plenty safe. These are, you know, AN lines. I know you guys are gonna be worried. It's fine. These are, I've never had any issues before. It's not fuel being carried, it's just some oil. I've seen this done many a times where it goes up the A-pillar, and if it's tucked out of your line of sight, that doesn't matter. Usually people put it on the passenger side just so it's out of line of sight, but again, we don't need that. So keeps it all the way tucked up here and then goes back down. So you can see the steam coming out of it now, at least I can. Perfect. Just got to tighten up these 2 fittings back here and we should be good. Next, I'm going to grab the data recorder. So the way that this car works is all of my passes get recorded onto this drive right here. So all I have to do is pull out my laptop and we can go through some data. So laptop, a lot of people were actually commenting. A lot of you guys were actually commenting on the last post about me learning how to read the tune-ups and the data and stuff. I have no problem doing that. I read the tune-ups every pass for the most part if something seems like it needs to be read. But for the most part, there's not much changes we make because there was no changes that I had to make during the day. It got down in the heat of the day before, or 2 days before, just basically the exact same time of day. Went right down, very slow 60 foot, 122 60 foot, really safe, conservative, easy tune-up for short track, and then we're just kind of motoring on down. Put the car up on the lift real quick to pull the belly pan off because I noticed there might be a slight leak from the oil like sandwich plate here that we use for our pressure sensor. It's this just this guy right here. I don't know if it's just not screwed in all the way to the block or the oil filter's leaking, but it seems like there's a small drip. And then I'll scrape off this pig mat, glue down some fresh pig mat and clean her up. But belly pants are so awesome. It takes 2 seconds to pull this thing off, and it covers the whole deal, and I can see right where it's leaking. So belly pants are great. Got a little yard debris fire going. Thankfully it's been raining a lot, so perfect time to do that. So anybody excited to look at data with me? I love me some data. Oh, whoa, just dodged everything. The Viper chair. You guys like my Nissan Versa format here? Pretty high dollar stuff. Okay, so I'm going through the data on the run that went my personal best 8th mile. It went a 5010. I don't know what that is, but it went 5010 at 144 mile an hour. 5 mile an hour faster in the 8th than I've ever been. Slower to the 60. I've been 117 many a times. That this car likes 117s. It's done that a bunch. I have some things I need to do to get back to that, but it should be back there. The old personal best was only 5017 to the 8th, so it was just a little bit faster, but we had a slower 330 and a slower 60 foot. So mile an hour is higher because we're making more power. ET is slower because we didn't 60 foot as hard. So that's a little info on how ET mile an hour works. But my personal best mile an hour in the quarter, or ET in the quarter, is a 7.806, I think. So we are about 1/10 off from that, but we're about 2 thou faster, or 200th faster in the 1,000 foot than that old personal best. Let me pull it up. I have it right here. So the old best 1,000 foot was 6522. This was 6507. So it was already on track to be faster in the 1,000 foot, and even lifting at 0.23 seconds in the run, I can tell by the data here. I'll show you guys that in a second. I can tell by the data here that it was that much faster. So from this time slip, we are already on track to go faster ET wise than that, faster mile an hour than that, and that was a 176 and a 780. So this time slip with this back half probably would have been somewhere in the 770 range, like low 770s, judging by what we had in it. And this, you may know, is the pass where I got out of it. I pulled the chute at 5.253 seconds, so the chute was out when I got out of it. It wasn't just like lifted and rolled, it was parachute out, slowing me down actively. And then it still rolled to a 7908. And so you can see here, you guys remember I was talking about this pass. This was my 790, like I was just showing, and here we can just go through the data. So here is, this is boost. Here, the red line is RPM, and there's a blue line somewhere that is throttle position, but it's way up here because it just goes wide open throttle basically. Let me drag this down. So drag that down a little bit. Yeah, it's right here. You couldn't even see it because the way that the line was, but so wide open throttle on the two-step, obviously. We lift. I rev the car out a little higher than I normally do. So right here, my shift point is at 8678. I usually shift at 8,000 to 8,100, but I was letting it rev out a little bit, letting first gear kind of run its course. And then when I shifted, it drops down to 7697, so about 100 RPM drop. And then we come through the traps, usually about 8,000. It creeps back up to 8,000. But I lifted right here. You can see the blue line, lifted, got out of it, dumped the chute, RPM was dropping, and then I felt the guy was kind of close to me there, so I went wide open throttle again. You can see RPM jumps back up. Boost doesn't really climb yet because it takes a minute, but it definitely slowed down the drop of the boost, and then we motored on through. So for a split second, I was only back on the throttle for, I mean, that goes from 42% throttle. I was I was 42%, 40% throttle there to 94% throttle. So this little jump was probably only, let's see, 15.15 to, I mean, that was when I went to 0, but probably right here is a good measurement. So only about, you know, 2 thou of a second. So, or 2/10 of a second I was back to any throttle. So for 2/10 of a second, I whacked the throttle again, basically. It was just like, wah, and let right off, but that's what it did. And then it kind of crept the RPM back up from its drop and then hung there a little bit better. So that's what we did on that last pass. And it's gonna look like a mess for a second here. Spaghetti tunes here. Boost control. I usually like clicking on boost control. Yeah, so here is the 7. So here's the 8.0 pass. This would have probably been a 7-second pass too, but you'll see I short shifted it compared to the other pass because I wasn't really racing anybody. That pass, 8.001, exactly on the shift. That's normally where I shift at 8,000 to 8,100. Our rev limiter isn't until 9,600, so I always have some breathing room there that I haven't really explored yet, just because a wet sump engine like this doesn't like to be revved out too much. But let's see how long I was in the throttle for 8.0. I hadn't really ran it out this weekend. I have not ran out the new motor yet, and I'm hopeful that I get to, but I think you guys know, clearly watching other videos, that running it out the back would have put me in A group with Cletus and Rick Prospero and a couple other deep 7-second cars, which would have been a bad idea. To go in and tussle with that group would not have been in my best interest. That's why my class was so tight, because everybody was trying to stay out of that group. Some people ended up putting themselves into it, but that's why the class was so tight. So makes sense, but definitely cautious of that happening, but that's where we're at. So just going through some data. I'll send Alpha some logs. Oh, I guess you guys probably care about how much boost we're running too. Peak boost was 463 kPa. Everything's in metric on this computer. So it's about 65 pounds of boost. 400, and it's about 68 pounds of boost. So I just added a little heat wrap to the catch can lines here, just to make them look a little bit more unison and to kind of make sure that it's not getting too hot. It's never really been an issue, but I think that might just help it just a little bit. This is braided line, so it's not too bad, but because it's tilted back just a little bit more now, it's a little bit closer, but I think 1.5 inches is okay. It is what it is. It's gonna be hot oil, but that's normal. But it looks pretty decent now. Just used some heat wrap that I had laying around. It's just some like cheap fiberglass probably heat wrap, and doesn't do a huge amount, but any little bit helps. All right guys, that's going to do it for this video. It was kind of just a ramble hodgepodge of everything, but post FL2k video and preparing for our next few drag races to come. Hopefully we'll be back out there very soon. BMP will be open back up in 2 weeks, I just saw, so really pumped to have that open, and then we can go do some drag racing and some testing and try to run that PB. So hope you guys enjoyed it. I know some of you guys wanted to see the data and look over, and we got to look over some of the car. We're gonna keep working on it. So that'll do it, guys. Thanks for watching. Keep it healthy. I'll see you next time.
Oh my God, my heart is racing so